Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. This is City Talk. There are 3 of them in New York City. One in Manhattan, the oldest, is the largest ethnic enclave in the city. The others in Queens and Brooklyn are large, growing, and diverse. Together, they are home to the largest such community in North America. They are New York City's Chinatowns. Here to talk about the Chinese community in New York, particularly the Chinatown of Lower Manhattan, the Chinatown, its people, its problems, and its prospects, is Wellington Chen, the Executive Director of the Chinatown Partnership Local Development Corporation. He is an accomplished urban planner, a longtime Flushing community activist, and member of Community Board 7. Mr. Chen was the first Asian American commissioner of the City Board of Standards and Appeals. He sits on dozens of boards, including the CUNY Board of Trustees. Welcome, Mr. Chen.
Thank you, Doug.
Let's start by just briefly looking at the 3 Chinatowns. Differences in region of origin, different dialects, different customs, different politics, different socioeconomics. Just give us a short précis of the 3 Chinatowns.
In a nutshell, as you correctly pointed out earlier, Flushing is predominantly Taiwanese early on, but it has changed. Now there are more mainland arrivals also from all parts of the world. Chinatown in Lower Manhattan historically has been Cantonese speaking, and that is the old tradition from the 1800s. And then Sunset Park is a new community that has just like a new satellite.
Now, is it true that the immigrants tend to, or have tended to come into Lower Manhattan, Chinatown, and then dispersed out, and now they're sort of skipping Chinatown and moving directly to the boroughs or outside?
That is correct. In the old days, in the 70s, Chinatown on the weekends is a must visit. This is where you go to get your food, your grocery, your supplies. Not anymore. The satellite Chinatown, so-called satellite Chinatown, whether it's Edison, New Jersey, or Elmhurst in Queens, they have taken over that role, and even now in
so the community is suburbanized. They've moved in, up, and out.
Yes.
Now, also there were socioeconomic differences among the 3 Chinatowns, with, I guess, as I recall, Flushing having higher socioeconomic status, better educated, the higher income. Sunset Park and Chinatown less well off, and less upscale, if you will, less educated.
Yeah, I can't say for Sunset Park, but I know that in the study have shown that, for example, the Manhattan Chinatown, education is a big component to its future.
Okay, let's talk about Chinatown, Lower Manhattan. Right. What's the state of Chinatown today, 6.5 years after 9/11? Because except for the World Trade Center area, Chinatown was devastated by 9/11.
Correct. And we will not just blame it all on 9/11. The garment industry was already suffering prior to 9/11, but 9/11 accelerated its demise.
Let's just talk about that for a moment. From what I understand, it's sort of ironic that one of the problems with the Chinatown garment industry was the relaxation of quotas from goods from mainland China.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And also, that's why Sunset Park, even prior to 9/11, some of the jobs start shifting to the Sunset Park. But when 9/11 happened, it became a frozen zone, so you cannot make deliveries, and so we lost 20,000 jobs in that one scoop.
And you lost them for a long time, and you still haven't totally regained them.
Yeah, I mean, I always says, my little daughter can tell you, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. We lost 50,000 workers on ground zero, and combine that with 20,000, and you have 300 to 400 restaurants, and you put the two and two together, we have not created all these jobs in Lower Manhattan.
And both of those industries that dominate, both the restaurant, tourism, and the garment industry, have very low profit margins, and they went weeks and months.
And you hit it right on the nail, which is that, Chinatown is always a low-cost provider. We depend on volume. And that's why one of the future, the solution we found for Lower Manhattan is that in the future, when Ground Zero comes back, with Freedom Tower, with the Memorial, with the Calatrava Path train station, with South Street Seaport remake, that is going to be an important key. To me, always the southern approach to Chinatown is the absolutely key to the salvation for Chinatown in the future, because it's the modern-day Pearl Harbor Museum. And, to this day, you still know there's a long line outside, the Hawaii Pearl Harbor.
Right.
This is, in a way, out of tragedy, gave us a glimmer of hope.
Okay, so there were opportunities, and we'll talk about the obstacles and the opportunities. In addition to suffering this catastrophe, the initial business and residential recovery programs, you folks were ignored by, or Chinatown was ignored by the policymakers. It was treated as an afterthought. And if you look at the disbursement numbers, the Daily News did a big study in 2006. You got left in the dust, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, and actually, I still remember, Dr. Thomas Tam just passed away this week.
Right.
And I could still remember, not too long after 9/11, he and I were standing on the Newman Institute, and he was commenting to me that, and he alerted me that Chinatown was not included with all its in the benefit.
Now, who was Professor Tam?
Dr. Tam was the executive director of the Asian Research Institute, and he led the charge. He quietly says, this cannot go on, because he showed me a map. I still remember to this day. He showed me a map. He said, look how close we are, and yet we are cut off from it. We are part of the frozen zone, but we are not part of the benefit zone, so to speak.
Part of the difficulty, it would seem, and having served as a chief of staff to a city councilman that had the entire borough as its purview, Chinatown, from the time that I remember it politically in the 70s to the current day, has been a relatively insular, closed, politically inactive community. Every once in a while, around, for example, the prison in the 80s, you had an outpouring of protest. But it's been quiescent. Is that part of the problem, that if you don't make enough noise and you don't have enough juice, you get ignored?
I must say the new leadership in Chinatown is beginning to acknowledge this issue, and they have taken steps to have great voters registration drive. So there's a shift in that thinking. But I think you're correct. Historically, it is meant as an inward protective mechanism, and also the detention centers and the courthouses, and they all sort of blocked us, what I call the government fortress, sort of, a canyon around us.
They're right there. I mean, they border Columbus Park.
Yeah, and if you look back of the Columbus Park of 100 years ago, in the old postcard on the CCBA's website, for example, you will see that used to look like Union Square. Even though you have tenements, but the mother can see the child playing on the ground. Now is a detention center. One side is funeral home. The other. This is what I call the dead zone.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I played basketball and watched the funerals up, I guess it's Mulberry Street. But you don't have the Union Square, as you put it.
Yeah.
Is there any potential for that?
Absolutely.
I mean, and you folks don't have space down there. I mean, in terms of parkland, you probably have a much lower proportion.
You were in Columbus Park playing basketball. You know how actively used that park is.
It's totally used.
Is one of the highest utilized park there is. My mother-in-law got caught doing the Tai Chi by Channel 13 doing there.
But that's the best.
Yeah, but to show the potential, this is where I said, in terms of our comeback, this is the old 5 points immortalized in the gangs of New York. And most people do not know that Columbus Park is the site of the 5 points, the slums. And my hope is, and I sincerely believe in this, is that when Abraham Lincoln, when he came down to New York, asked for a detour to see 5 points, or Charles Dickens asked to see 5 points, or
American Notes. So this is good.
Yeah, or David Crockett, asked to see a detour to go to 5 points. This is what gives me hope, that if we can make Chinatown interesting to the people that are paying their respect to the 2,000 victims and the 3,000 victims that perished on 9/11, that afterwards they don't mind walking up the hill. within less than 10 minutes of walking.
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of historical terrain there. I mean, it's the site of the old Collect Pond. I mean, nobody remembers that. I mean, the lake in downtown Manhattan.
And you're so correct. It's not just about the Chinese.
Right.
It is part of what Bill Moyers called the American experience. We have the oldest Jewish cemetery directly across the street from my office. We have the Maryland's Temple, which is an African American church, still very active.
You've got the Roman Transfiguration Church that's gone through the ethnic succession. I mean, from the 70s on, you could even see it.
That's correct. And Brooks Brothers' original site is down the block.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't say. And
so there are tons of history, and my hope is this shows, there's the potential to highlight all the the great history. This is the gateway to America. This is where the people's great-grandfather, came through that area.
Well, I mean, clearly the waves of the Irish and Germans, they landed in the 5 Points and the surrounding area. And then the Italians and the Jews, where did they go? They landed in a similar area. If you go to Jacob Reese's photographs, it's there.
Yes, there's a lot
I
of
love
history.
Chinatown, as you can tell.
And it's also the South Street Seaport. Don't forget, this is the gateway to America. So 2009 will be the 400th anniversary of the landing of Henry Hudson. And I always comment that, Henry Hudson was looking for not particularly Hudson River. He was looking for the Northwest Passage to China.
That's right.
And
that's right.
100 years,
right.
And 100 years earlier, Verrazano was looking for the same passage. And there, I'm looking at the ship called Bay King sitting in the South Street Seaport, and this is the gateway to the future of America, which is that with looming power of China, we are the perfect matchmaker.
Perfect.
We are perfect. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let's get to impediments and problems confronting you and the Chinatown Partnership Local Development Corporation, which we haven't talked about yet, but which we'll get to.
Right.
You've used the phrase feudal thinking, paranoia. Let's talk about the, if you will, I have to sound like a political scientist, the political culture, if you will, of Chinatown and the obstacles and opportunities that poses.
Yeah, those were actually words relayed to me, quoted by somebody over here.
I don't want to ascribe them to you then.
No,
I don't want to get you in any trouble.
No, it's correct. I mean, somebody mentioned to me that within their dialogue, that's what came across to them. And that's why I said education is such an important component, because the contrast, between the what you alluded to earlier, the community in Flushing and Lower Manhattan, is about understanding the return on investment, the ability to leverage your investment to get a greater return. What I always call, turning a brick into a gold bar.
Now, what's the alternative model to that, though?
Well,
what's the old way?
Yeah, because historically Chinese were, shall we say, discriminate in it. So the old model was very much insular and inward-looking
and protected. Okay.
And 9/11 proved to us that without outside assistance, without engaging the outside, this community is not self-sufficient at this moment, no longer. Because in the old days, you don't have the satellite communities. And that people, this is a must-stop. Now, after 9/11, we also lost close to 1,000 parking spaces in Chinatown. And so
Forget it. I know.
Yeah, and so that is something that, it's not just the thinking, it's also a part of the physical reality.
So describe briefly sort of the social political organization structure networks in Chinatown and how you as the executive director have to navigate that as well as influence it, I guess.
Yeah, Doug, as you correctly pointed out, there are customs and there are traditions in Chinatown, and I must respect that, and I work with it. My motto is that, Chinatown Partnership works with every partner that wants us to support them, and we're here to help supplement and support any and every initiative in the community. And so it is a tradition that is almost become a culture, its own way of doing things. So I work I don't believe in revolution. I believe in evolution, in gradually what I call, continuous refinement of our own communities, and that is the guiding principle.
Now, is that happening? In fact, are there specific obstacles that you can point to that have been circumvented or surmounted and led to success?
Yeah, Chinatown is well known for its divisions and its bad blood going back decades among the different factions and
these factions are based on what? They're based on region of origin.
You name it.
Right. If there are possible divisions, they happen.
Yeah, but I also says that there's greater hope. I see this as a transformation. For example, the Chinatown Partnership is the first organization in the Chinatown history that the who's who of Chinatown agreed to sit on this board and put aside their differences and at least be on the table and share common dialogue. And I think that's the hopeful sign. And I think that's a first step.
And that is the word out there, that what is beginning to happen is at least a recognition of mutual need and the need for mutual action.
Yes.
Let's talk about the partnership specifically. How is it formed? Why was it formed? What's its charge? What has it done? And what is it going to do?
Okay, let's go back to 9/11, where you got started. After 9/11, and after the community started voicing its concern about the impact and the devastating impact that it felt, the government finally took notice and says, okay, what do you need? And so in the survey for thousands of stakeholders afterwards, they conduct a survey and just say, what does Chinatown need? Among the myriad of 200 items that is needed, by far, by a mile, nothing even come close was the sanitary condition. And this is Asian and non-Asian alike. By a mile, it was the sanitary condition is the turnoff. Why we will not return to Chinatown, why we do not come to Chinatown, and why we will not again come to Chinatown.
Okay.
And so government gave a major generous grant funded by LMDC, September 11 Fund, the Department of Small Business Services, as well as
So you really do have interagency cooperation with you.
And I had to give credit to LMDC, to HUD, to SBS, and the mayor's office, and they've been, they did their share of it. But it's also built into that is the carrot and also the incentive, which is a test, what they call a taste of clean streets. We do the taste of Chinatown, which is the food of Chinatown, but it's also a test of Chinatown. The question is, do you get it? Do you even appreciate what we are giving you?
Okay.
And so the question then becomes sustainability, whether you will continue this program on your own. That we cannot fund you, we cannot give you fish forever.
Okay, so you got to learn how to fish yourself.
That's
but
correct.
How do you teach them to fish?
Right. And that's the difficulty.
This is the attitudinal change that you're talking about.
And this is the
Now, isn't there an institutional form? I mean, you're familiar with it, which is the bid. You did it in Flushing, and it did what bids are supposed to do.
Yeah.
What about a bid for, Chinatown and pros, cons, opportunities, obstacles?
Yeah, and that's what I would love to discuss with the community, which is a bid concept is not an easily absorbed concept.
Talk just a bit about what a bid is.
Okay, a business improvement district basically is a group of local leaders, a group of local merchants and owners band together and just say, we got to do something, what is needed in this town? And so if you say, I need security, you have security. If you need, I want to do holiday lighting, you can have holiday lighting. Or you can say that I want shopper surveys.
So the businesses actually contribute to the bid.
Yes.
And the bid is used to provide services in addition to, not in lieu of, city services?
That's correct.
And these services are provided by city agencies?
No, this is your
This is all private. You buy this all privately.
This is all your homegrown home rule. People think it's a tax. The tax you pay City Hall, you never see it again. Not in the direct way that you see it. Here it is. It is collected and then is determined by the local stakeholders.
Oh, okay.
100% of it.
Now, what's the institutional form of this decision-making body of the stakeholders?
Yeah, it obviously has to go through a lengthy approval process, what they call 11-step approval process, and it involves the city council, involves the mayor's office, involves city planning, and all.
And the businesses themselves, and they've got to agree to tax themselves.
It is a democracy.
How easy a sell was this, or is this?
Yeah. Initially, it's not easy. For example, in Flushing, it taken us over 30 years.
I know.
Right. But now lately has been accelerating. For example, in the city now, there are close to 60 bids. There are 15 more in the pipeline. And so it's like a snowballing effect.
Okay.
The concept was invented in 1965, of all things, by a smart Chinese businessman by the name of Alex Ling. And he lives in Toronto. And 30 years later, guess what? The Prime Minister of Canada and the town's mayor honor him with a major fountain in the center of town. And so I said, now this movement has now sprout into 2,000 communities around the world, from Africa, from South Africa to Australia, from Germany, Ireland, England to Brazil to Canada. There are 4 of them. So I always say that businessmen are very smart. They will not waste their money unless there's value in it. So there is fundamental value, but it's the ability to let people understand what the rate of return is. That is the hang-up is. If they keep on getting hang up on the cost of the 50 cents brick and not seeing the value or that it will turn into a gold bar, I will get nowhere.
You were talking about a survey earlier that indicated the sanitary conditions.
Right.
What other priorities did the survey suggest, and what's happening to affect those priorities by the partnership?
Yeah, I don't want to suggest in any way that the bid is the panacea, and I don't want to suggest in any way that all we focus is on the clean streets. Fundamentally, is what we also did what is called the Explore Chinatown campaign, which is
and it's a very interesting website, and we should
www.explore-chinatown.com. If you want to find out, we're totally revamping behind all the codes are being changed on the website. So even though it looks the same right now, it's being changed.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, the various websites of both your organization and the affiliated organizations really give extensive information about Chinatown, particularly food.
Right.
I mean, I'm very concerned about. And so what else is the partnership doing?
Basically, it is a marketing and promotion, of Chinatown. It's our website. It is our marketing. It's the maps that we gave out, the discount coupons, the lunar stages, the night movies, the Taste of Chinatown. We've done it 6 or 7 times so far. We're trying to raise the money. Has run out for that portion of it. We're trying to raise the money to find sponsors to do it. So it is fundamentally. So we got a lot of hits on the website. We got our kiosks, for example, for visitors have helped over 500,000 visitors so far. We have helped to bag about 12 million pounds of garbage to date in a year and a half. We have power washed over 8,000 storefronts. We have painted over 1,000 mailboxes and the lampposts and the stickers. So the quality of the environment affects your perception.
You can feel it?
Oh, no question. I mean, even opponents, this is undisputed that this campaign has produced excellent value for the town. I mean, the hang-up right now is who pays for it in the future.
Okay.
And so I have always said that if it's a democracy, if somebody is willing to sweep your front door for you, why should you object? And I think that's where the message has not gotten through as of yet, because people think it's about levying them for the tax.
Right.
But where in fact, for their own good, you need to do a little investment up front. Because this is where I refer to as the gold bar effect, the ROI.
Okay, so this is part of what you referred to earlier as the new business model.
Right.
Could you summarize what this new model is or might be?
Yeah. In a nutshell, because we only have 2 more years before we sunset into a pumpkin. And so I need a time proven.
Wait a minute. So it's legislation. It's eliminated.
It's a limited one-time funding.
Okay.
It's built into and just say, does the town get it, and whether you will support it.
Who legislated it? The state.
Well, meaning that no one's going to fund you or doing your laundry forever.
Right. Right.
I mean, so it's a given that.
So there's a takeoff point,
and it's not the American. It's not the American way. We don't count on the cavalry all the time, and I don't want another 9/11 so that I can get funding for.
You want sustainability.
Exactly.
Now, how do you do that, though?
Yeah. And so the business improvement district is a effective, time-proven mechanism given that I only have 2 years, is the only time movement method that I know at this moment.
Okay.
Down the road, I can evolve it. That is a launching pad.
Okay.
Is a launching pad for fireworks. Is a launching pad for future initiatives.
Okay.
But without that thing, because I can tell from firsthand experience in the Flushing community, we went through a decade with a local development corporation. Every year you go out and try self-funding.
Right.
And it's not easy to sustain that. And that's why most of the, like Union Square and all the other communities evolve from LDCs into bids.
Okay.
And so.
What can we expect over the next year, 2 years, 3 years? 3 years out, what do you want to look back on and say this was the major accomplishment, or these were the series of accomplishments of both this institution, this organization, as well as the total effort in Chinatown?
And my team knows this, and my board of directors know this. From day one, I am a firm believer in investment in infrastructure. I don't believe in the short-term banks. And so just as Lower Manhattan, even though they've been criticized right now, I have no doubt it's going to come back in a big way, because you're investing in the infrastructure. With 12 subway lines come together on the Fulton Interchange, the Calatrava PATH train station, the Freedom Tower and all that. So I just want to make sure Chinatown joins that party.
And you have the opportunity to take advantage of all of these opportunities.
Right. And so part of our in our network, what we're working on right now is the wayfinding, which is Chinatown is not in the grid area, so it's very hard to find.
Yes. I know this.
Yes, and we are doing lighting. We have put up holiday lighting. We have also, Chinatown is very dark. We have a lot of working with a lot of lighting consultants and architects and wayfinding consultants lately to fine-tune how do I make sure that you understand how to get there without just pointing an arrow.
And also it becomes more all day. I mean, most of us treat Chinatown and have treated Chinatown as a day thing.
Right.
But there's plenty of life downtown at night. And that's something that lots of folks don't know. It's not only food, it's all kinds of stuff.
Chinatown used to be open till 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was 2 or 3 decades ago. That wasn't that long ago. And gradually, through the security concern and the crime issue, of the 70s, the hours start cutting back. But now we have a golden opportunity to reinvent ourselves in a new way, because right now you're afraid to, with 1 foot candle of lighting level, it's barely adequate for the motorists, let alone the pedestrians.
Right.
And thank God there were some jewelry stores that will light up their stores at nighttime just to prevent people from smashing in. There is a correlation. I mean, the classic example of I always say, in the old days, they break into the banks' roofs and things like that. You know what they go by? How much graffiti there is on the rooftop. It means that no one cares. No one is watching it. And so they drill through a hole. It's very easy to, the roofs are only 40 pounds per square foot. You cut a hole, you go down, and it's yours.
So we've got 10 seconds. You're you're optimistic.
I am.
And you can provide me yardsticks to make sure that you pass your exam.
Yeah, we are trying every which way I can, because we cannot, I have always said, this is unfortunate, we cannot afford to fail. Because if we fail this time, because there's too much at stake, no one would dare to try it again in 50 years.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
You.
Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. Let us know what you think about this show. You can reach us at CUNY.TV. When you get there, click on the bar that says Contact Us and send your email. Whatever it is. Thanks, no thanks, obnoxious, do it. Send it.